Hello, students and professor. My name is William James McElroy, and this is my speech on minimum wage. I am against the fact that a minimum wage exists. Um, in my opinion, it robs people of jobs that people, although wouldn't be as high paying, it would, without minimum wage, would have a decreased inflation. The cost of basic items that are usually the production of which involves a minimum wage would be cheaper. Um, it all in all, it just raises the bar. It doesn't exactly make life more livable. Um, let's start by defining minimum wage. Merriam-Webster's online dictionary defines minimum wage as the lowest wage paid or permitted to be paid um, by a legal authority or contract that is um, of an employing reason. Um, let's talk about states that have minimum wage. I'm on the U.S. Department of Labor government website, and across the United States, there's quite a array of different ways in which minimum wage affects people. Um, in a few states, I'll post this along with my speech so you can see it. But there's a clump of states down in the South that don't have a minimum wage law. I'm not sure what the overarching ramifications of that are, um, but I know that there's 4 states that have a minimum wage that's lower than federal for different reasons. Um, Minnesota has basically a basis of how big your company is. That's dependent on what you're going to pay your people. Most states have either the same as federal or higher than federal minimum wage. Um, but let's talk about what that does. Um, I have here the principles of economics. This is one of my last classes I took. And when it's talking about minimum wage laws, if you will, let me see if this is coming up. Okay. Um, this is a curve here. This graph demonstrates um, the deficit, as it were, between labor supply, labor demand. Here is where people should be paid, but as minimum wage is a price floor, there's going to be people out of work, and I'll explain that. Um, let's say that you're a company. You want to make sure that you can afford more people to work for you. You want to be able to have the optimum number of people in your company working for you. You want to have quality people, and to save on money, you don't want to pay them as much as you can, as much as possible. You want to make sure that they're uh, paid enough to stay around, but obviously you don't want to pay them, $100 an hour if you're selling a product that is worth $5, and it's not gonna make sense financially. Um, so that being said, you're gonna probably if they're gonna sell a product that's um, $5 and they're gonna sell 100 units an hour, and assuming there's no other overhead, they're making you money. However, they need to make some money back. Now let's say that you know end over they make $15 an hour. Well, that's all well and good, and you've got 5 people working for you. Now let's say that the federal government steps in and says they're not getting paid enough. You need to pay them $20 an hour now. Well, you're like, well, that's not going to happen. Someone's going to have to get cut in order for you to still make your buck. You're going to have to cut somebody. So the 5 people you have are going to go down to 4, maybe 3, and they're going to be expected to make the same sales numbers as the 5 people in order for you to keep your buck, as it were. It's basic math, right? Well, unfortunately, that's the way it works. In most cases, business owners are out to make a profit. That's just the nature of business. Call it criminal, call it what you will, but that's simple business. Um, so when the other thing that could happen is that the business could raise the price of items from $5 to $6, um, bringing in more money and paying for the overhead. However, what that does is to people who don't work in that business is now that their product, their $5 foot long, let's call it that, is now a $6 foot long. Well, when I want to go to Subway or wherever and buy that product, it's now $6 instead of 5. So I am out an extra dollar. Is this right? Is this a free market? It's up for you to decide.